Do not attempt to adjust your computer. There is nothing wrong. We have taken control as to bring you this special show. We control the content for the next 30 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Dobie Maxwell, also known as the King of Uranus. This is Carrie Turner right here, our Millennial Falcon, our technical director, along with her boyfriend Adam.
Yeah.
And this is the star of the show. I'm riding sidecar to his brain full of knowledge, Mr. Greg DeGuire. Here we are.
We're not worthy.
We're in nerd. We're here in the brand new studios, the Star Wars edition, the $100,000 insured, brand new, bulletproof. What would you call it?
This is the side studio, the
right.
sidecar.
The sidecar studio, exactly right.
But it's working out really well. I like the lighting. It looks great.
It does look great. It's not cat proof though.
Our mascot.
Here's the Django.
Hey.
Hello, Django. It's like. He seems less than impressed. He wants to try some of the Australian licorice.
He shrugs.
Before we start, Greg had something he wanted to go into. But I have something, I don't know, you could call it serendipity. We've all lost things. I happen to be one. Keys, wallet, phone. The hardest things that you look like keys, wallet, phone, wallet, keys. It's like you're folk dancing. I'm just patting myself down.
You're ham boning everywhere.
Ham boning everywhere. 2 years ago, I was living in a place in Illinois, and I was setting up for a flea market, and I put my cell phone down, and I lost it.
Yeah.
I don't know where it went. It was, I was putting things in boxes and loading up my car, and there's things in the garage. And about a half hour after I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. I emptied the car, I emptied the garage, I emptied the house. I did it 10 different times. I couldn't find it. This past weekend, I got a call from the person that I stayed with. Said, hey, I don't know if you knew this, but you have, a box of stuff that you didn't pick up when you moved. I forgot all about it. I had no idea. So if you come over, you can go see it. So there was a box of 45 and 33 RPM records, physical vinyl records. I don't remember even having them, but there was probably 100 records in there. And about for the fourth record, what did I go through? What did I find? My cell phone.
Oh my goodness.
From 2 years ago. This is my phone now. This is the cell phone.
Now you can call yourself.
Well, that's the thing. I looked at it. They can't. I reported it stolen at the time. I did charge it up. It does work.
Wow.
But the point is, I can't use it as a phone. I took it to the store.
Oh,
they said you reported it stolen, so now it won't work on any system. I don't know why that is.
That's strange.
They said I could use it as an iPod. I could put
all your
on
music and videos on there.
You can put videos on it, I guess. And it also
can you use it with Wi-Fi then?
Yes. Well, I don't know how to do that though. What would I do?
I can help you out with that later.
Well,
she is a technical advisor.
She is a technical advisor of the show, and I do appreciate that. My point is, everyone at some time has lost something, and it's like you're supposed to pray to St. Christopher if you're of the Catholic faith, and St. Christopher, I guess, spends his time looking for lost Legos, phones, keys. What else are the easiest things to lose? You lose a lot of things. Sunglasses, easy things to lose.
Yeah.
And how many times, I was in a store the other day, excuse me, and I found a cell phone on a shelf. I took it to the manager. I said, someone is going to be looking for this. They said, oh, you saved the day for somebody. But yet it took me 2 years to get
find that.
My point is, serendipitously, how does that happen? There's got to be a force, some cosmic.
We had a luck episode, and this kind of tied into it.
I believe that for every yin, there's a yang. That happened in a Seinfeld episode. Jerry took a $20 bill out of his coat and threw it out the window, dug in his pants pocket and pulled out a $20 bill he didn't know he had in there. So I think it's just the law of equivalency, I guess. I mean,
every action has the equal and opposite reaction.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in time, maybe not immediately or right away, but I mean, proof's in the pudding, as they say.
I believe in that.
I have found keys in the past. I'm thinking, you know what? Somebody is looking frantically for these. I have them, and I have no idea how to get back. Now, is anyone's name? My name's not on this if somebody should have found it.
Nope.
Do you have name on your keys if you should lose them? I lost my keys maybe 6 months ago. Didn't have them. Now
unless my name is Chevrolet. I don't think that's my name.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know, it happens a lot. Just
bragging about his new car anytime you
Sorry.
get it.
Tell us about your new car.
Well, I had a truck, Dodge Dakota pick-em-up truck, for 20 years.
Okay.
He loved it.
Man, it got me everywhere. It was my best pal. But over the years, it had problems of a 20-year-old vehicle that normal vehicles don't have. I don't have struts. Trucks have leaf springs in the back. The springs had fused together with rust. And I just had to put a new muffler on it, too, because the old muffler literally fell off. But the truck still had lift points.
My phone was next to it.
It's next to it, yeah. The truck still had lift points, so my mechanic could get it up in the air and still work on it. So, but I didn't have a defroster anymore, and that's in Wisconsin. That's kind of a big deal. You need a defroster.
Right.
That didn't work anymore.
Unless it's an extreme sport now.
Yeah. And the only
peak hole.
the heater worked, but only on the feet. So, and I tried. I really wanted to have it last the winter, but I couldn't do it anymore because now I was starting to have bearings were going out in the motor. But these things were fixable. Some of these things were all fixable. But man, how much more money you want to shovel into a car before you say the hell with it?
That's it.
It's 20 years old. I mean, what else do you want?
Did you buy it new?
I got a slightly used 2017 Chevy Malibu.
Yeah.
It's
No, dude, the truck.
The truck was brand new.
Wow.
3 miles on it. I got it at Coleman in Kenosha, but I had all kind of problems with it. It was the first run of the new body type for Dodge. And it had problems. I went through, in the first calendar year I had the vehicle, I went through 8 catalytic converters because they put the new body on the old frame and it just didn't wash. Both bumpers, front and back bumper, fell off. Factory problems because the framings were not right. The paint peeled away from both the front and back bumpers, so that was the third set of bumpers that I had. Both replaced by the factory. I mean, there's nothing. It was within a year and a half that the bumpers fell off twice. So that was my lesson learned. Never, ever, never, ever, ever get a first year, first run vehicle.
Did you check the nut behind the wheel?
And I'm pretty sure that part was an operator error. But I did on this car. I checked the Carfax, or the Carfox as a commercial is, because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't a cleaned up car, a flooded out car. But my car, she's my new Cali girl. She was a corporate car. She was a fleet car in California for just 6 months before it didn't even hit 20,000 miles, and they wanted to get rid of it for whatever reason.
It was a Medellin drug cartel mule car.
God, I'm going to search that car now. I hope I find something groovy.
And we're Mala buddies now. I had a hit and run on my vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Somebody pushed her car 30 feet.
30 feet
while
next
you were
to
in it?
No. 3
Drunk
a.m.
hit and run.
Yep. And I'm not going to say personal details because I think that should be kept under wraps.
Case is pending.
Exactly. It's still under...
Still a bummer.
I just want to give a shout out to Adam's grandma, though, who is helping us with a PI and an attorney on our side. Basically, the car was pushed 30 feet forward at 3 a.m., and it was a hit and run.
Oof.
So nobody was at the scene, but they found the owner of the vehicle a block away drunk. So that's all we'll say.
Yeah.
I was left to buy a car with savings money. So I bought a Malibu, but 2003.
I mean, you hate to say it, but at least you were able
Yes, I agree.
to buy. Do you know what I mean?
And it was a good buy for what we paid. It was $1,500. No problems with it whatsoever, except the mirrors. But nope. The whole episode.
Yeah.
But basically, only 111,000 miles, and that's good for a 2003.
My truck. Let me tell you why that's not good, and I'll tell you why. My truck was in 1997. When I turned the keys over with tears in my eyes, by the way, 178,000 miles.
Oh, wow.
Which put an average of around 8,000 or less per year.
That's low.
Yeah.
I was blessed to work very close to where I lived for a good long while. But now I drive to Gurney and I was just piling the miles on. Mm-hmm. And I knew that was going to accelerate. Whatever was wrong with the truck was going to come out now in a hurry. Right. So it was time. I mean, it was time.
Now, you had a special subject that you wanted to get to this week.
Yeah, since we've taped last, they've released new documents on JFK and the assassination. And we know from the old radio days that was my absolute favorite. It's my absolute favorite topic to talk about.
Now, so Donald Trump released them.
Yes.
Everybody seemed to think that was something that he took upon himself to do. I was told it was the president, whoever was in office at this time, that was going to be able to want to do that. So he pretty much was...
Did he take credit, or did he...
He never really took a lot of credit. The headlines always said Trump to release documents. But he never tweeted about it. He never went on grandstanding about it.
I feel like somebody's in charge of his Twitter, not him.
Here's the thing. These documents were set to be released at certain dates along the way. Mm-hmm. So whatever sitting president happened to be there at the time this date come to pass, they could say, sure, release them, or they could say, yep, sorry, not going to do it. But there's still documents that were set to be released that still the CIA will not release. Mm. But of the things that were released, minor stuff. So all this does is it shows a bad light to the CIA. Sorry, CIA, but y'all were numbnuts on
I'm
this
not
one.
sure that they're viewers of it.
Yeah, probably not.
Maybe they are.
But if you are, maybe you ought to have gotten your act
my-
together back in the late 60s. So all it did was show failed attempts on Castro's life, which we all knew happened anyways. And it showed bumbling on their part. How they got some things wrong, or how they had a tail on Lee Harvey Oswald in Mexico City. But there's still a lot of back and forth on whether or not the Lee Harvey Oswald that was in Mexico City was actually Lee Harvey Oswald. So there's a lot of things still kind of up in the air. I'm sure in some people's eyes this is now, well, open and shut now. He did it. I don't know why people are still talking about it. Until they released every last possible sentence on the investigation, there's always going to be theories. Now, because I like to believe in these conspiracy theories, don't make them true. They're just really fun to talk about because they could be. Now, have you been to the book? Have you been to the school book
2
depository?
times.
Yeah.
Yes, it's something we should take a mothership field
Oh.
trip.
I
Every
would love
American,
that.
every American of any age should see that because
Yep.
it really puts things into perspective.
Oh man,
Have you seen it?
I was up there, and the thing is, when you can't stand in the sniper's nest, but you can stand next to it. You
Literally
can kinda-
5 feet away.
At 5 feet away, you can stick your head and you can look out the window and you can take a look and say, hey, you know what? It's really not that far away of
It
a
is
shot.
not that far.
It's closer than you think it is.
A lot closer than you think.
But still, there's still a few things that still just don't add up. For example, we'll rerun this, and I found my old Mothership notes, of which there are plenty.
And you made me watch document last year. You gave me the video, the people behind Kennedy.
Yeah.
And that was talking about many people might have been.
Now,
Yeah.
Carrie, that's the gun. Okay.
Okay.
Here's the limo right here.
Yeah.
Greg is good. Here's the president waving, hello, Mr. President. Hello,
Yeah.
people. Well, thanks for voting for me. And there's the gun in the suppository. The book depository.
But he doesn't shoot him coming up Main Street.
Right.
The car's coming up Main Street, so I'm the sniper and I'm looking down. The car comes up Main Street before it makes a goofy turn on an angle road called Elm Street. Why didn't he shoot him? As soon as he had him in sights on Main Street, he could have taken a shot. Even if you miss, the car speeds up. He still has time to
do
pull off another
another.
shot before he turns on Elm Street. Why? Why did he wait? Because when you turn on Elm Street, now you got him in 3 shot zones. So if I'm standing in the school book depository, there's a building to the left called the Daltex building. That's kind of where the jailhouse was. So in the lower floors, there were open windows. Now you've got the infamous grassy knoll. Did you walk around the grassy knoll?
I did.
Man, that is
Yes.
such a perfect shot. You can stand right there, and you can look like, wow, that is bitching for a headshot. I mean, it is right there.
Yep, sure is.
So as easy as of a shot that it looked from the school book depository, that shot is even easier. But still, the 3 bullets that they find. All right, so I'm watching specials on the History Channel, Geography Channel. So the Mannlicher Carcano, that was the rifle that Lee Harvey Oswald used. The bullets that it took were heavier than normal bullets. So they shot this through a bunch of, it's called like body jelly, specific body foam that's supposed to mimic skin. So what they do is they take skeleton fragments, they put this body gel around it so it mimics a human body. So they shoot through the stuff and see what the bullets do to bone. You can see everything, you can see right through it. So these bullets, some of them did come out end over end because the bullets are so heavy. So it's possible that one bullet could do a lot of that damage, but still, 3 shots, it just doesn't, in my eyes, I'm sorry, it just doesn't add up. Hate me if you want to. Something just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Then they changed the parade route. It was supposed to come one way, and they turned it exactly
Oh,
around.
I didn't
Oh,
hear that.
Yeah.
So, I have this in my notes.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the
So, one of the guys,
presidential limo. I'll put that away.
one of the guys from the CIA, of which Cabal was the guy's name. So he was mayor of the city of Dallas at the time. But they were brothers. They were the Cabal brothers. One of them was head of the CIA, or the top heads of the CIA, whom Kennedy had just fired. So if Kennedy fires my brother Chris, and I'm the mayor of the city he's coming down, Chris
You're
like,
going to go after him.
say, listen, there's a plot afoot. Can you make sure you change the parade route? Done. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying it could have happened. It's an
possibility.
arguable possibility. So there's a lot of these things that nobody ever talks about. The driver, a fellow by the name of Greer. If you watch the infamous Zapruder film, it's the most
I read
watched
the book.
the most watched home movie in history. Some would say that the limo driver.
Tommy Lee, Pamela Anderson video was the number 1.
The number 2, yeah. So they say that Greer got behind him and took a shot and shot Kennedy right behind him because it still looks like that's where the bullet would look like a frontal shot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But Greer had nothing to do with it. Well, there's so much. I mean, look at all these notes. I don't even know where to begin. Plus, there were over 120 suspicious deaths that were involved around the Kennedy assassination. And I have here a list of all their names.
Including Lee Harvey Oswald.
Including Lee Harvey Oswald. To this day, he is not where he's buried. They put his body in the ground, his body's gone.
What?
He's not even there. Furthermore, when Jim Garrison is the only person to take any of this to trial, they subpoenaed the Smithsonian to get Kennedy's brain so they can examine which way the bullet hit it. Can't. The brain's gone. Somebody stole the brain out of the National Archives. They had to get the Smithsonian the rights for the film, but the National Archives had the brain. Well, they're not there. The brains are gone. Someone stole his brain, so you can't trace where the bullet went to. I mean, that's only two of very interesting, very bizarre things. The shooter from the grassy knoll is the infamous Badge Man. Mary Mormon. She was talked about in the JFK, the Oliver Stone. I know what you're thinking. It's Oliver Stone. I get it. You don't have to like the guy. But I think he made some interesting points. Turns out a lot of the points he made in the movie now, after further research, maybe on the sketch side, and yes, he took a lot of leeway because it's a movie. He's got to sell a movie. It's not a historical biography. You have to go in knowing that. But he did make a few points, and he talked about Mary Mormon. She was on the opposite side of the grass, shooting pictures. So the car was right in front of her. She's shooting pictures, right? You can see in her picture there's a puff of smoke from the grassy knoll. Could have been somebody smoking a cigar. Nobody knows for sure. But there's a picture of a guy in a policeman's uniform. It looks like he's holding a rifle. I mean, this picture's out there. But they wanted nothing to do with it. The Secret Service claims to not have... As soon as your shots were fired, there were Secret Service men all over the place. The Secret Service denied having any field agents on the ground after the limo left the area. So who the hell were they?
Yeah.
There's just so many... I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. I think I had here just all kind of oddball facts. It was frame 313 is the headshot of the Zapruder film. I had that written down. Let's see, it was Operation Mongoose, which came out in the release documents that David Ferry was a part of, and Eladio Del Valle. David Ferry had the guy with the goofy eyebrows. He claims to have known Oswald. They were in the Civil Air Patrol together, so they flew planes more or less. So they knew each other. That's been proven too. But they went on to say that they never knew each other. But that's a bunch of hooey. Hooey. Let's see. An autopsy done by a doctor at Bethesda blurred the original notes, and the FBI agents in autopsy claimed surgery was done before the autopsy. There were different caskets. So the Secret Service guys who put the casket on the plane, when they took the casket off the plane, they claim it was a different casket.
Heard that too.
Woody Harrelson. Anyone remember Woody Harrelson from Cheers?
Yeah, his father was in jail.
For?
Drunkenness.
More than that.
Murder.
Yes, he was a contract killer by the CIA.
Really?
Also, there's an infamous photographer of... so they took a lot of pictures because the Triple Underpass is where this happened. So there's a rail yard right behind the grassy knoll. So the cops went into the rail yards to look for people because so many people said that something happened behind there. So the police invaded the rail yard and took these bums off this empty boxcar. Well, not empty because there's 3 bums. One of the bums, first off, they say didn't look like bums. They had brand new shoes, white collars. I mean, they looked pretty sharply dressed. Upscale bums.
Band.
That's a good one.
Upscale bums. But one of the bums happened to be Woody Harrelson's dad.
I had never heard of that.
I know, right?
He is one of my favorite actors too, though.
Woody Harrelson's
Let's
dad?
see.
Yes.
So, after the shooting happens, Oswald goes running. Supposedly back to the house that he was renting out under... what was the name he was using? It wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald. It was L.H. something or other. He had 4 or 5 different aliases. Alec Heidel was the name he was using. That's when he ordered the rifle under the name A. Heidel. But in Texas, you can go in any store and get a rifle, but he specifically mail-ordered that rifle. Why? Knowing that could be traced back to him. That's the dumbest thing of all time.
Right.
Texas at the time had no gun laws. You can go buy anything you wanted to. He could have done that in an untraceable weapon, but he didn't. He ordered it from a mail-order catalog under an alias. Come on, people, let's think about this for a minute. So there was the lady who owned the house, and I don't have her name. Anyways, she was watching this on the TV. Oswald is in his room sweating. She hears a horn, right? We don't know what that was about, so Oswald just gets up and books out of the house. She tried to stop him, but he left right away. So quickly thereafter, he shot Officer, supposedly, J.D. Tippett, right in the corner of 10th and Patton in a sublet of Dallas. But the eyewitnesses can't place him at the scene. They said, well, the guy they saw, that wasn't Lee Harvey at all, it was some other guy. Mm-hmm. So that may have been a warning to Oswald that they're onto him, the police are looking for him. Nobody will ever know the answer to these things. So I think George Lucas wrote this whole thing because we'll never have a straight answer over any of this stuff. Oswald may have been an FBI agent spying on the CIA. Nobody ever talked about that. That's a possibility. There was also memos that went out. I have here, Hoover may have been responsible for a memo that went out to all the FBI field offices just before the assassination. Why? See, there's so many... I understand that this is all... It's not main evidence, right? It's supplemental evidence, but there's so much weird stuff.
But you can't just put all of this aside and not consider
Well, they
anything.
all did. They certainly all did. Let's see, what have I got here?
Now, are these all notes you just remembered off the top of your head, or was it while you were watching documentaries? And...
This is all off the top of my head, man.
He is truly amazing. The first time he came in the radio studio.
When it came to JFK...
This kid's got a chip in his head.
Man. And I haven't dove into this in a long time. It's been a while. That's why I dug out my old notes. But this is fun to go back into.
It's good.
There's just so much stuff here. Let's see. Yeah, it was Alan Dulles. Alan Dulles, he was in charge of the FBI or the CIA at the time. Kennedy fired Alan Dulles for the Bay of Pigs fiasco. The Bay of Pigs, they were supposed to send Cuban nationalists back to Cuba to retake it. And if it went poorly, the U.S. was supposed to send air support to make sure that we got Castro out. Mm-hmm. Well, the Nationals got there, and they got wiped out, and they didn't get air support, and it was embarrassing because everything pointed to us. So that's what Operation Mongoose, that not Lee Harvey, but Eladio Del Valle and the other guy, they were all part of. Operation Mongoose was supposed to be hitmen and assassins, like mercenaries on the American side, to help train these guys so they can reinvade Cuba. Now, there's one other oddity in all this, among many other oddities. There was an offshore oil rig that they used to train some of these guys to go back to Cuba for hand-to-hand combat, all kind of other stuff. Teach them codes, teach them how to do things. The offshore oil company was part of the Zapata Corporation. Mm-hmm. And I want to give you probably heard it from me, but I'm going to give you one guess. Who owned the Zapata? Who owned the Zapata Oil Company? Any guesses? No guesses. George Bush. The plot thickens. Mm-hmm. Plot thickens. So,
that whole family conspires in almost all the conspiracy theories we talked about.
That's the real thing. I mean, is it possible that they're part of the most evil family in American history?
Bush's baked beans.
I mean, they're quality beans, to be sure, but maybe the beans killed Kennedy? I don't know.
One good conspiracy in every bean.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of oddball things. Now, on the side of the Bush family, people hate it when I bash the old Bush. Sorry, that sounded funny. I didn't mean it. But the thing is...
You've been a Bush basher for
a
long time.
Everyone
Bush basher.
Bush bashers.
What was the other? Sorry.
Bums on a train.
No.
Upscale
bums. I'll write it down later.
Okay.
The thing about the Bush family is the dad, Prescott Bush, was a Nazi, right? So Prescott held money for the Germans here in the States during World War II because he was sure the Nazis were going to win. So he backed the Germans. That's how the family, a lot of them, made their fortune, through illegal trading with the Germans. Doesn't make them the most evil family in history. I'm sure it happened. You can blame American companies for doing that. You can blame Ford. GMC. All these other companies were selling oil to both sides. So it wasn't just the Bushes, yeah. Wasn't that a rumor that that's how the soda Fanta got its name? It was owned by Coca-Cola, but Coca-Cola didn't want to sell Coke brand to the Germans, so they come up with a Fanta brand and sold that in Germany. So Germans drank Coca-Cola, but it was under the Fanta brand name.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was an acronym.
That very well could be. Yeah, there were a lot of the Bush family.
So, with the new Trump documents, was anything confirmed from your notes?
Only the fact that the CIA was officially now involved in assassinating Fidel Castro. That they denied that for a long time, saying it wasn't us, it wasn't us, it wasn't us. Well, now the documents confirm that.
The theory is set.
The theory is set in stone. There's no coming around.
I don't trust them.
That they're going
completely.
to assassinate him?
They were going to. The CIA backed a lot of plans to try to assassinate Castro. A lot of oddball stuff, too. But they always denied having a hand in that. But it was pretty common knowledge that, they were part of it anyways. Yeah. It wasn't that big of a secret anyways. So like I said, the stuff that come out was only like, oh, okay, I get it. So now it's real. But nothing, there's still no smoking gun. And I don't think there ever will be, as long as the Bush family lives. Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's all the information on the Zapata Oil Corporation. There you have that. Howard Hunt. Here's an oddball. Now, wasn't he one of the Watergate burglars? Mm-hmm. So the thing is, while he was in jail for that, he claimed that he was going to go to the FBI. He told Nixon he was going to go to the FBI and spill the beans on everything. Now, no one really knew what everything meant, but when he was released from prison, he got paid a check by the Nixon administration for $2 million, and Howard Hunt took his secrets to the grave. There's a lot of speculation that Howard Hunt was involved in the Kennedy assassination also, because there's two people. Everybody remembers where they're at. If you're a part of that generation, everybody remembers, like my generation, you know where you were when September 11th happened, right? Same thing when JFK got assassinated. Ask any baby boomer that was around, they know exactly where they were at, unless they were in the hospital or unconscious or hipped out on acid or what have you. But they all know where they were at, except for two people cannot recall where they were at, and it makes them oddballs to say the least.
Nits.
And they were Richard Nixon and George Bush. Can't remember where they were at, and they're quoted as saying, well, no, I can't recall what I was doing. Even though George Bush was in the same state at the same time, he was supposed to meet Kennedy later that day. But you can't remember where you were at? I mean,
And that's real.
Again, circumstantial.
Okay.
But there is so much
proof,
circumstantial, that it just makes it odd. I'm gonna have to say that it's odd.
Yeah.
But not everyone. Here's my favorite one. Here's my favorite oddball. So not everyone in the Warren Commission agreed with the lone nut theory. Not everyone. Well, a few of them didn't like where it was going. One of them in specific, Warren Commission member Hale Boggs from Louisiana, had strong doubts about the magic bullet. The FBI was trying to blackmail him for being public about his doubt. His plane disappeared somewhere without a trace over Alaska. Anyone want to take a bet on who drove him to the airport before he was last seen?
D.B. Cooper.
No, Bill Clinton. Thank you very much.
Wait. Who? Time out. Say that again.
Bill Clinton
drove
Senator Hale Boggs to the airport before he was never seen again.
What?
I'm not making that up. That's true. I'm saying.
Okay.
Now you see why I love this topic. Because it is far out there. It is so far out there. And the guy, my other favorite Kennedy connection with UFOs, Clay Bertrand, who was taken to trial by Jim Garrison, the only trial to ever come out of all this stuff. His alias was Clay Shaw. Now, they tried to nail Clay Shaw to being a part of the CIA, and because they felt that it was done in by their own people as being part of a coup d'etat, the CIA tried to take down their own people. But it was never proven that he was part of the CIA at all. Well, as it turns out, in 1978, when the Carter administration, or was it Ford? Who was the president in the 70s? Carter or Ford? Ford.
Carter first, then Ford. No, I'm sorry.
No, it's Ford first.
Nixon,
Ford, Carter.
Nixon, Ford, Carter. I'm sorry.
So had it been President Ford, or early President Carter, they reopened the assassination. And as it turns out, they found the paperwork to back up that Clay Shaw actually was a member of the CIA. So that corroborated one specific story. Still doesn't make it all true, but they corroborated that story. Here's what makes that interesting. Before he was a CIA man, Clay Bertrand, was in the FBI back in the 40s. So back in 1947, late 47, early 48, there was an incident in Washington State called the Maury Island Incident. fishermen in Maury Island in the state of Washington were in this lake, and they saw something flying over their heads that was crashing and burning on fire. And this fiery craft dripped this liquidy stuff and hit their boat, went through their boat, sank their boat. This liquidy stuff sank their boat. So they found these liquid metal cooled things, and they gathered them together, called the local cops. Cops like, not our problem, call the Air Force. Air Force was barely invented yet, so they sent the FBI. Anyone want to guess what FBI agent was involved in the Maury Island incident of UFO particles? Clay Shaw. Thank you very much.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Fun.
This is amazing.
Fun, isn't it? This is just so much fun.
And that's just scratching the surface too.
This didn't even get to 2% of the notes.
What is your theory on what happened?
Here's what I would like to believe.
And is this your top theory?
It was a suicide.
Yes. It doesn't make any of this true. Here's what I would like to believe. So, this was done by foreign peoples that brought into the country illegally with the help of Jack Ruby because he had connections with the mafia through Mexico. French assassins were brought in to assassinate Kennedy so they can get him out of the country in a hurry so that no one would know anything, and you can't persecute people who don't live here. So this is all made through drug contacts through the mafia. The mafia had a lot to do with the CIA at the time because the mafia and the CIA were in bed together because they both wanted to get rid of Castro. So they were playing ball with each other. Because Castro kicked the mafia out of Cuba because he closed down their casinos. So the mafia lost money, they're pissed off. Mafia doesn't like to lose money. Sam Giancana's involved with this too. He was the head of the outfit in Chicago Mafia history. Read some books. So here's how that happens.
Yeah.
Jack Ruby was a part of the Chicago outfit, and through that, these foreign nationalists and assassins were brought into the country illegally and put in a specific place, and they were part of this conspiracy to kill Kennedy. But the million-dollar question is why? Anybody want to guess?
Several reasons.
Go for it. Shoot.
Well, the mob helped him get elected, and Bobby Kennedy, his brother, was going after the mob.
Big time. He double-crossed him. Now, there's a movie out there by Michael Corbett and Sam Giancana Jr. called, the books are called Double Cross and Double Deal. Read these books. Talks a lot about what happens here. It's all Chicago Mafia. Also, because he wanted to end the Vietnam War. That was a big part of it. He didn't want to go over there. He wanted to end the war. He had some security action memo, I forget the number, but that ended the Vietnam War. He gets assassinated and they get the war. The country made millions. The same people who own these weapons defense contracts, they made billions. Bell Helicopter, they own political districts in Texas where he was running. I mean, this is all politics and money. That's all.
Do you think it's a coincidence that he did get hit in Texas? His vice president was from Texas?
Well, I would consider that a hell of a coincidence because you got to, first of all, follow the money, right? And who benefited? Who benefited? Who benefited the most from his being assassinated?
Johnson.
Big time.
Lyndon
He got
Johnson.
to be president, and he pushed an entirely new agenda that Kennedy was not ever going to do. That's a big deal. I think that's a big deal. Also, there's the infamous photograph on the jumbo jet when they're flying Kennedy's body out of town with Jackie Kennedy with a hand in the Bible, and you see it's a black and white picture. Now, if you look at the black and white picture, there's a dorky fella in the background with a bow tie. He's the only one in that picture wearing a bow tie. Anyone want to know who he is?
Lyndon Baines Johnson.
No, he was the head of NASA at the time. Kennedy wanted to share space secrets with the Russians so they could have a joint mission to the moon. Not for us to do it alone. He wanted this to be a planetary mission, not just us. Some say he got assassinated for that because he was soft on communism. He was going to share secrets with the Russians. At that time, man, in the late 60s, nobody wanted to have anything to do with Russia at all whatsoever. 60s. It was early, I mean, 1962, 1960. He got assassinated in 63, so early 60s, Russians were the big bad enemy, so to speak. If you're Russian, I'm sorry, this is a long time ago.
You have a salad dressing named after you.
You do. So I guess there's a lot of reasons, but that's the question nobody ever asks. It's all the who, how, why, and where about, and who, wherefores, and who cares really? Yeah. Why? Because he wanted to change things. Plain, pure, simple. Kings are killed because they don't. Well, my army doesn't want to fight your army. I want to do other stuff. Bring in the guy who wants the army. Sometimes that happens, and it's a shame. But because it's still unsolved, and there is no statute of limitations on murder anywhere in the lower 48, As far as I'm concerned, it's an ongoing case.
Yep.
There you have it.
Well, do you think that the person that came forth now, they'd probably be very old?
Yeah, I still say that these documents are under lock and key because of the Bush family, because it implicates the Bush family big time. And they're all still around. So no matter what, as long as there's a Bush the Third or Bush the Junior, this stuff will never, ever, never, ever, ever see the light of day. In my opinion. It's my opinion. Doesn't make it right, but it's my opinion. There's a couple of documentaries out there. There was one that was on Netflix called The Dark Family. It's all about the Bush family. Yes, I know. Stop hating on the Bush family. What's the matter with you? They're a great American. Okay. But what if you're wrong? What if they were part of something else?
We're just saying the facts here that they were involved. It's not really just hating on them. It's just saying what we know.
No, but I've lost friends over this.
Really?
You're about to lose another.
I know.
We're done.
Because
Mothership is over.
George Bush, Poppy Bush, was a World War II hero, got shot down every single time. Well, here's another thing that implicates him, not only the fact that he owns Zapata Oil Company that Cuban nationalists trained on. He lied about being part of the CIA. When he was elected president, they asked him straight up if he'd ever been, were you ever involved with the CIA? Before he was president, he was the head of the CIA. He was a CIA director. Reagan put him, not Reagan, who was before Reagan. Carter put him there, must have. Anyways, he lied, said he was never part of the CIA. Well, it turns out he was, because he let CIA operatives on his property. Moreover, he did jobs for the CIA, and I'll tell you why we know this. In World War II, he was shot down twice. He named his planes the same name. So after his first plane was shot down, he got another plane named it the same name. So he had a pension for using this name. So his ships that ran for Zapata Oil Company all had the same name on the ships too. Anyone want to guess what that name was?
Murgatroyd Stanislavski.
Wrong. Barbara.
Oh.
After his wife, Barbara Bush. So Zapata Oil had two ships that were in their fleet. Guess what they were named? Barbara. Ta-da. Again, circumstantial. I understand.
Just too coincidental, though.
We have fulfilled our contractual obligation for this episode of the Mothership.
Yeah.
If you want to get a hold of Greg, he is a walking knowledge. How do we get
I'm just
Greg?
so impressed. We have the Mothership Connection fan page, and then we have the Gregory DeGuire front page.
So be in contact with us. More flying down the Mothership coming up in future episodes. If you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, we would like to cover it.
Please
get in touch with us.
Something other than JFK.
Yeah.
No.
Keep bringing on JFK.
This is Terry Turner, our Millennial Falcon. This is Greg DeGuire. The brains, you have to cool off that coconut here after the day. I'm Dobie Maxwell, the King of Uranus. Peace. The Mothership flies again at a future date.